Welcome, everybody, to the Advanced Selling Podcast, the longest-running sales training podcast in the history of podcasting. My name is Brian Neal.
I'm Bill Caskey.
We're here every week for your listening enjoyment. If you're not a member of the Insider Group, what are you waiting for? What a great way to start the back half of the year to join our Insider Group. Meets the first Friday of every month. Live coaching from my co-host Bill Caskey, and great group too. Just a great.
And one thing we're doing in July, just decided to do it, is everybody in the Insider who wants a 15-minute coaching session with me, maybe they have a situation they need to resolve or they want another set of eyes on something, we're doing that. So if you are not a member and want to get in before July 1st, and you'll get access to that 15-minute coaching. That doesn't sound like a lot, but to be honest, we can cover. Think about our podcasts are 15 minutes, and think about how much we cover. So you can cover a lot.
It's a real deal. Highly recommend you take advantage of that. That's a big give. Now, we catch a lot of hell. We don't catch a lot of hell, but we catch hell on our podcast for our pre-show rant. Mm-hmm. People say if we get any negative feedback, it's like, get to the point, you guys. You guys aren't that funny. Da, 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 da. Well, today I want you to listen to the rant, because the rant isn't a rant. It's a little bit more serious, and I want everyone to listen. So don't fast forward this, because my friend Bill's got a little personal story to share, and then we're going to segue that into a topic, but it's a little more serious than normal. So
yeah, usually our rants are funny. This one probably isn't.
not so much.
Isn't as funny.
Not so much.
Well, I'll keep this to 2 minutes because I have spoken at length on my podcast. But about 2 weeks ago, I was getting ready to go to Nashville, Tennessee for a weekend with my brother-in-law, 9 a.m. Friday, stopping by the store to pick up some things before the trip at noon. And I'd worked out, had a great workout, a lot of upper body, and felt good. And went in to pick up a couple of things and started feeling this pain in my back, upper shoulder. And I didn't think anything of it. I thought, I just can't get comfortable here. And maybe I stretched, And then I started feeling a little lightheaded, a little kind of washed out or something. And so I thought, well, that's kind of weird. I had a cookie at 9 a.m. So thinking, well, maybe it was just body reacting, whatever. Mm-hmm. So I sat down outside just to get comfortable. And then I couldn't get comfortable. So I laid down on the pavement, which is a dead giveaway. You got a problem. Yeah. And a guy came up to me and said, hey, man, you okay? Because, I'm 6'5", 210, so a large body like that laying on the pavement. Funny, though, one guy who got out of his truck, he came by, just walked by me and said, good morning. But the next guy said, you okay? And I said, I don't know. He said, you don't look good. I'm calling 911. And I said, whoa, hang on a second. And he said, son, you look like SH. I'm calling 911.
Yeah.
And there was something, there was something in someone's eyes when it was like, oh, I kind of reflected back. He's seeing something that I don't see because I'm not looking at myself. So I said, okay. And he called, they came out, they said, you need to get to a hospital. They couldn't tell anything really from their little mini EKG. Long story short, checked myself into Riverview up in Noblesville. And they did a heart cath at 3:00, and I had a stent in because I had a lot of blockage by 4. Spent the night in ICU and was out the next day, tripping around. So here's, everything's fine. I'm good. I had to change my diet was awful, and I had to change that. But here's the lesson, I think, for guys, but everybody, because a lot of women die of heart disease and heart attack too. But you don't know what's going on inside you unless you do some kind of tests and scans and things like that. And on the outside, you can be, they call it TOFI, thin on the outside, fat on the inside. And I had stuff going on inside that I wasn't aware of. And because I wasn't aware of it, I didn't do any corrective action. And so guys, Brian, I know you have experience with this too, given you have constant ongoing testing. But guys, if you haven't had a calcium test, or they're what, $49, $97 to get, at least it's an insight and a clue. It doesn't mean that it's a huge problem or not a huge problem. It just gives you some data.
Yeah. Well, I first of all, thank God that's as far as it went, and good for you that you got, someone to take care of you. That's also a little reflective part that you think, man, how many times have we seen someone, boy, they don't look good. We just keep on walking.
Well, they're laying on the ground, though. It might be
the thing. And so thank God that happened. And then, Yeah, we for the NFL, I'm required to do a very in-depth physical every year. So I've been doing it now for 11 years, and it includes both a stress treadmill test, which is sort of an old thing to do, but then also a full-blown heart scan, and get all the reports, see all the visuals. I get to see the pictures and things, and calcium buildup. And if there's one thing that's beneficial to me, I'm forced to do it because I know myself. If I wasn't forced to do it, I probably wouldn't.
Yeah,
and it would nag at me. For years it would nag at me. And so if that's you, I was just I'm doing my physical right now, and I saw the big banner that said heart scan $49.95. It's like almost like going to Walmart, and it is nothing.
It's 30 minutes.
It's nothing. And you put in a tube, and it gives you, so like Bill, you said, it's not like injecting dye and seeing or doing surgery, but it's a huge indicator. They will be able to tell, the percent of blockage of your arteries if you've got some calcium buildup, which is just an indicator. And then so
so
you feel better? Do you feel like, can you tell?
I never had any feeling. I never had any feeling before, so I don't. That's what people say. But you feel better. Yeah, I mean, I feel good mainly because of the weight loss. Really, that's what the issue is. So, but thank you. Yeah, you almost had a solo. You could have been every episode could have been a solo episode.
Don't go there, man. Not ready for that yet. I don't know what I'd do there.
Oh, fine.
But if that does happen, can I have your microphone? You put that Will for me. I'll put
Will in the estate.
SM7B goes to Brian Neal. Thank you very much.
What the heck? That's funny.
There's got to be some sort of podcast Hall of Fame, doesn't there? They put it. Look at this. These are the microphones of Brian Neal and Bill Caskey.
Yeah.
The longest running sales.
Well, if we make there should be a podcasting Hall of Fame. If we make it, I'd like to make it when I'm still alive, though. Not
exactly. Go to your own induction ceremony. It's a good thing. Well, glad that all worked out. Hate that happened. I'm glad it happened the way it happened, because it's a good thing. We were talking about this, how to segue that into a topic, not to make light of Bill laying on the concrete, looking like SHIT, but thinking about how often, because Bill, you mentioned you had gotten a heart scan or some procedure like that several years ago, and it made a little indicator like, you got like a moderate risk here. And they're like, oh, whatever. And that was 7 years ago. And so as salespeople, let's talk about what advice or things that we've been taught or told that we've heard we don't even realize we've heard it for years, and we still haven't done anything about it. We want to kick that around a little bit.
Okay.
Both what it is and why it is for
so
sales.
Maybe we do it this week on what causes us to change our behavior or our thinking. And then next week we do it for prospects. What is it that we can do to help them see that they need to change or create that environment? So maybe this week we just do salesperson. That's good.
I like it.
Yeah, I think the first thing, the main thing here is, are you aware? Because I'm not. I don't want to keep bringing my thing, but I was unaware, and I think for those of us who are in the achievement game, which every sales professional is in the achievement game, they want to do better, they want to do more, be more effective, be more efficient. You have to be aware of the data, and if you're unaware of the data, and what is that data? Well, that data could be closing percentage. That could be I'm pulling this out of nowhere. It could be income level. Have you seen your income level stagnate or plateau? It could be, have you ever looked at what's really possible in your business compared to what's real in your business? So, it's one thing to say, well, I did 120 grand last year. I'd like to get a 5% bump. That's 6,000. I could like to do 126. But if it's possible to do 500, then is that a data point, the 5% up level, is that really a data point that means much, or is it more the possibility? And so that's the first thing I think we have to be aware, and maybe you can shed some light on how you work with your clients and what are the data points that would lead you to believe that I got a problem or I have an opportunity.
Yeah. It's funny thinking about this. So you're not, but now we're playing doctor kind of here, aren't we? I don't think you're born with plaque in your arteries and veins. That you're not born with clogged arteries. If a healthy kid, that stuff happens over time. And the contributing factors that I've been told, one is genetics. So that's an uncontrollable. You can't change your genes. And the other is health factors, diet, exercise, all the things we know. And so I think salespeople think about this, you think about, well, what outcomes have you been getting? Your outcomes are the result of years, days, weeks, months of certain activities and behaviors that lead and culminate in this big thing at the end, which is your sales results. And so you can't flip a switch. You can't empty your arteries of plaque next week. And they got that way over a long period of time. And so it's going to take a while. But what it takes is that consistent behavior. And that's the part that I think salespeople miss. They worry about the uncontrollables. They worry about their genetics. Like, well, this is how God made me. Nothing I can do about it. Well, there is something you can do about it. You can't you can't erase the genetics, but you can change your diet. And then you look already, Bill, in just a few short weeks, you've lost 10 pounds, which I got to think is good for that whole system.
The whole system. Yeah. And that's a really good point, is the build up over time of our habits too. We have built up our habits and even our thinking. If you haven't had someone recently challenge your thinking about something, whether it's what your role in the sales cycle is, who are you as a human being? Are you really living out any kind of a divine existence or divine purpose? And if somebody hasn't challenged you, it's easy to just go along to get along. It's just keep status quo, status quo, status. I keep eating cookies, keep eating dessert. No problem. Look at me. And then at some point, it builds up to the point. And sometimes in sales, it builds up to the point where you get let go.
Yes.
You lose a series of major deals, and it causes you to say, oh, wait a minute. Is my thinking messed up here? Why am I losing these things? But if you're not reflective, you're never going to find the problem.
That's awesome. Dan Sullivan says measure backward. He does it for positive, but it's good to look at what did I do to cause these outcomes. We had a client through COVID went real heavy in on nothing but behavior. It was one of the industries that didn't shut down as a construction business, and they just poured on their behavior, and they measured it, to the minutes, hours, like on purpose. And it worked beautifully well. This company actually almost tripled in a period of about 4 years. And it's a big number. And it was like amazing to watch. And then all of a sudden, in the kind of that fourth year, they're like, hey, what, our first quarter's off a little bit. Second quarter's off. What's going on? Was it market? Uncontrollable. I'm like, da-da-da. We went back and looked. We came off the gas pedal on some of that other activity. And I'm not saying that that's just the only answer, but what I'm trying to demonstrate is when we looked at the data backwards, we go, no wonder, like you said, if you go back and look at if you eat, a Big Mac and fries every meal for 7 years, and then you're going to have a heart attack, you're like, well, no wonder that's what I did. And then you can change instantly. You can change instantly to start the path the other direction. That's the cool part.
Yeah. So what is it that causes us to change immediately without the threat of death? I mean, because we're not talking about life and death here in the sales process or sales achievement. No. But what can cause us to awaken? Maybe that's the word. Awaken to what's really happening. And maybe it's this podcast. Maybe it's you listening and saying, you know what? I've not really taken inventory of all these assets that I have, or all the how I do things, or my habits, or my thinking, or taking stock of when I lose deals. Do I really go back and do any kind of a lost sale analysis, or do I just move on?
Right.
And maybe it's this podcast that causes you to look a little deeper, get a little brighter light, shine it on your habits and behaviors, and maybe you'll find something there. I think you're exactly right. This whole, what are my actions? And they don't have to be cold call actions. It can be anything. It could be, doing webinars or shooting video, but the actions belie the thinking. And if my thinking is off, then my actions will be off.
Absolutely. And you've heard it from Bill and me. Let me correct my grammar. You've heard it from Bill and me for years and years and years.
Because that would irritate me the rest of the day.
I would totally, I had to adjust that for all my
Travis, could you take that out and make him say,
we please remove the Southern Indiana grammar statement there, would you please? Me and Bill.
Yeah. I do hear that a lot, though. The me and Bill thing. It's like, I can see if you're confused between, is it I or me? It's never me, and it's never I and Bill, or me and Brian.
Oh, I heard someone do a double superlative or double comparative, more better. in a public
wow.
setting, and they said it multiple times. I was cringing. I'm like,
They thought it was clever.
Yeah.
Listen to me.
Well, you just got to get more stronger. I mean, that's it. If you just get more stronger at your, I'm like,
and then they play that back for their family. Hey, I was on this podcast. You guys want to hear it? Yeah, I'd love to hear it. And everybody's wincing. Oh God, should we say it? Should we tell her? Him, her? All right.
And the person was like a communications person. But what I was going to wrap with is look backwards, like Bill is saying, take that inventory and then do something forward that you haven't done. Every one of you listening to this has heard Bill and I talk about something and you haven't done it yet. And I want you to go do it.
Yeah. That's a good, that might be a good, I know we don't have a lot of time to put together surveys or assessments, but that might be an interesting one where we come up with what are the 12 things that you need to be looking at and grade yourself on those things.
Yeah.
And one thing to be looking at is, are you looking at it?
Right. Are you thinking about
kind of the Dan Sullivan thing. We want to think about our thinking.
Yes.
And we need to kind of be a metaphysicist here and step outside ourselves and say, how am I looking at my behaviors and have I? So that might be an interesting project for an intern when one comes along.
Yeah, we're taking resumes for interns. Just listener at advancedsellingpodcast.com. You want to be an intern. Okay, well, Bill, glad you're here.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I like that topic. I think it's we are our biggest asset. We as mindful human beings, and we are the machine. And if you're not looking at the machine and saying, are the outputs appropriate to the inputs? I'm working 60 hours a week. Are the outputs there? And if they're not, then I have to say, well, what are my actions during those 60 hours and why aren't they producing, 10x results or 5x results? So I think it's good whether it's health or income.
Bravo. Love it, man.
All right. See you next time, Lord willing.
Okay. Goodbye.